Tua Tagovailoa, quarterback, University of Alabama. Hearing my name get called on draft day, that's going to mean everything to me and my family.
The Miami Dolphins select Tua Tagovailoa.
I would say the strengths to my style of play is my pocket presence.
Tagovailoa going to go to the end zone.
Touchdown!
Touchdown!
Guess who? How many times have you seen this?
And also with the accuracy and timing.
Watch this! All the way to the house! One of the best ever for the Crimson Tide.
And I'll be off once in Miami. It's a blessing. That's all I could say.
The countdown to Tua, our Hall of Famer Kurt Warner. Kurt, possibly one of the last times we'll have to see his college stuff, now getting ready for his NFL debut. So how can Tua Tagovailoa have success in that first NFL start in Week 8?
Well, MJ, it's not going to be easy. We saw on Monday night how good this Rams defense can be. And, you know, everybody's going to talk about Aaron Donald, as they should, because it's the pass rush where everything starts. But they're really, really good on the back end, starting with Jalen Ramsey and the different things that they do and how aggressive they are on the back end. And that's what makes it tough on a young quarterback. If they can get quick pressure and the back end plays downhill or shrinks the field, it can be really, really tough if you're forced to hold the football. You have to believe that the game plan is going to be get the ball out of Tua's hands quickly, whether that's with RPOs or the quick game. Pick your moments to go down the field, but this isn't going to be a game where you're going to sit back there and take 7-step drops and try to read things and make big plays. It's going to be short, take a shot. Short, take your shot. And Tua, as always, as he's getting into this thing, has to realize sometimes the best play is a throwaway instead of sitting back there and trying to make every play.
Kurt, we heard him saying that little bit of sound that we heard before we started here. He has this presence. Now, that presence has to meet the preparation that his coaching staff has been doing over the last few weeks. Kurt, thanks. And stick around because we'll see you later in the show for your QBs to watch in Week 8. Now it's Rap Sheet time with our NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport. And Ian, the trade deadline is next week, Tuesday, and teams are starting to make moves. What are the Cowboys doing?
Well, the Cowboys tried to make moves today, just like they did yesterday, trading Everson Griffin to the Detroit Lions. Just did not quite work out that way. So here's what happened. Dontari Poe, an underperforming defensive lineman, Darryl Worley, a corner who has not seen the field much in recent weeks, were being shopped all day today, mainly as the Cowboys go a little younger and kind of move on from deals that did not work. They were unable to trade these guys, and so what they did was right before 4 o'clock today, they released them. So now it is 3 veteran defensive players the Cowboys officially moved on from and jettisoned over the last couple of days as they try to fix the issues on their defense. Meanwhile, a team that did make some moves, the Cincinnati Bengals had a big-time trade with the Seattle Seahawks. They sent Carlos Dunlap, the disgruntled pass rusher who took to social media to let everyone know he didn't want to be in Cincy anymore. They shipped him to Seattle in exchange for B.J. Finney, a reserve offensive lineman, and a 7th-round pick, a new beginning for Dunlap as the Seahawks hope he adds a big-time boost for their pass rush.
And to make sure that stamp of approval is there, he's getting a welcome on social media. Jamal Adams going on Twitter saying, "Welcome to the squad, player. Let's get to work. Hashtag all in." Ian Rappaport, thank you. Let's take a look at other notable injuries across the league for Week 8. We have wide receiver Devontae Parker. He was limited today with a groin. Saints wide receiver Michael Thomas did not participate with an ankle. Other non-participants, Deontay Johnson, Allen Robinson, and Aaron Jones. Kurt Warner has one of the greatest stories in NFL history, from an undrafted backup to a Hall of Fame legend, and he did it winning only 67 regular season games. Moral of the story, every dub matters. Coming up, Kurt's 3 quarterbacks to watch this week. What's their challenge? What's their problem? And what do they need to do to put another dub on their resumes? Who is the king of the North, the Steelers, or the Ravens? And who is the king of the debate stage, JJ or D-Hall? From the field to the studio, they just don't agree. We'll let you decide who's right next on NFL Total Access.
NFL Total Access is brought to you by
Blue News, the Willie McGinnis in studio with us, James Jones, Kurt Warner, and D'Angelo Hall. We start, though, with the latest on the newest addition to the Buccaneers. It's official. AB joins TB12 in Tampa Bay, a move Tom Brady may have seen coming for a while. When asked if he spent any time in the offseason working out with Antonio Brown, Brady artfully dodged the question, but did have some thoughtful responses about what he can provide to his newest teammate.
I had so many guys that I looked up to when I was a player. And when you start in the NFL, I started on a team with a lot of great veteran leaders and guys that really took me under their wing. Willie McGinnis, Teddy Bruschi, Troy Brown, Drew Bledsoe, just exceptional players, but great guys. And then over the years, you know, when you transition from a younger player to an older player, you really want to see guys succeed and you want to see guys do well. And it's always about maximizing your potential. And I had a lot of people support me over the years, realizing that I was far from where I needed to be, and they would guide me to and provide me with the help that I needed as a player to reach my potential.
All right, we go out to Tampa, where we find Sarah Walt joining us on Total Access Live for the first time this season. James Jones and Willie McGinnis are here with us as well. Yep. Willie, I'm going to start with you here because we just heard Tom Brady drop your name there when he was asked about Antonio Brown joining the team. Can you sort of unpack that? What did he mean by that?
Well, his ability is definitely undeniable. We know what he can do on the field. He was a top 5 receiver in every category from 2013 to 2017. But it's the other things outside of football that Tommy was alluding to when he mentioned Drew Bledsoe, Bruschi, myself. One thing we all had in common is we put team over individualism. It was about holding each other accountable. It was about being a link in the chain, in the wheel, doing the things that you're supposed to do for your teammates. It's about staying out of trouble. There's a lot of things that goes on in those locker rooms. There's a lot of things that went on in our locker room. It was about everybody being on the same page, everybody coming in together, and nobody putting one person over the other. So now he's coming into a crowded receiver room, right, with some very talented players. What happens if you don't catch a certain amount of balls? What happens if you're not getting in the end zone enough? How is your behavior going to be? How are you going to take that? Is the W better than any statistic you can talk about? That's the things that Tom is talking about. And we had more guys that felt that way than we had guys that felt the other way. So now that he's coming into the Bucs locker room, I think it's important. I think they want to see, is that going to be the Antonio Brown's mindset, and he's going to be able to deal with that.
That's one of the biggest questions there, but I think the key there in mentorship and the trust between them, that's going to be the key part. And I know you had some questions for Sarah, too, as we get into this chat. Go ahead, Willie.
Sarah, I'm sorry. So everybody's talking and mentioning everything about the on-the-field Antonio Brown. And like I said, I know his ability is undeniable and what he can do and what he can add to a football team. But what are the Bucs as an organization saying, and what are some of their concerns? Because when you talk about Antonio Brown and, you know, recording coaches, recording players, showing fines and all the different things that went on inside the building, were there any concerns or did they have any issues with that?
Bruce Arians, Willie, is saying there's not. He doesn't have any concerns. He was asked today how he thinks Antonio Brown will handle, like, the COVID protocol, and he said no. He's very understanding that this is the deal. You go to practice, you go home, you come back to practice. Arians said today that he looked fantastic, that he was in team meetings today because he can't be out on the practice field yet because of that suspension, but that he looks like he's in really great shape and that he'll be ready to go next week. Now, this Buccaneers team desperately needs him because they are banged up with injuries. They've been dealing with that all season long. Chris Godwin now had to have surgery on a broken finger that Bruce said he was surprised by because he left the stadium Sunday and he thought he looked okay. He also said, and I thought this was interesting, there were reports that Godwin would be back for that big divisional showdown week 9 against the Saints, but Arians said, look, to think he's going to be back and just missed one game, he said that is very optimistic. So this is a team that really needs Antonio Brown to come in and help them. And so far, this team has been the kind of team that doesn't care about stats. Mike Evans was only targeted twice last week, and you don't hear these guys complain about that stuff ever. Certainly the talent level has been raised once again in that receiver room. And James,